following is an episode of the Brawdy Show, and listener discretion is strongly advised. Because if you're easily triggered, outraged, offended, maligned, mortified, insulted, or otherwise verbally injured, if you're constantly looking for a bubble, a safe space, some training wheels, or some water wings muffin to get through your day, take it up with a therapist. I'm not your shrink.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Brawdy Show. It's time to mortal up.
That be something. Welcome to episode number 520 of the Brian Brawdy Show. Tonight, here on Radio Bry, we're calling it The Other Eye. And we'll get into it in greater detail during our Mortal Up segment later on in the hour. But it is a blast. It is my pleasure to have you here with us. Let me say hi right out of the box to Miss Putnam. Thank you so very much for joining us here on our Facebook feed. Don't forget, you could be listening over on YouTube. You most certainly could be listening over on Spitter, a.k.a. the blue verse of Twitter. You could be listening over there. Or if you're listening to the tape versions, hello, on Spotify, iHeartRadio. What is the other one? iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you're getting the podcast version of our show after the fact. Thank you so very much for joining us, whether it's real, whether it's taped. Thank you. We super appreciate it. All right, there's so much to get to this evening. We've got a kind of a unique lowlifes making headlines. And as you know, I love getting a lot of this off my chest, clearing my throat, if you will, right? So that you and I can get to the meat and potatoes, which is the mortal up, right? Which is what we're going to do to stand up to all the craziness, stand up to the maniacs and go, we're not going to put up with it anymore. We're going to have a blast at our run here in the labyrinth of life, and we're not going to have you ruining it for us. So before we get to the meat and potatoes, as I say before, we get to the real guts of it, if you will, the mortal up portion, I like to get some of those things, kind of like clearing your throat if you have a fur ball. You know, just get some things off your chest, kind of unload a little bit, right? So that if you're like me, you're like, look, I can't focus on the stuff that really means something to me if I have all the static, all the distraction, all the nuttiness going on. I just want to get rid of it all so that I can get right down to the stuff that helps me the best. Now, you know I don't want to make this a political show. We talk about that all the time. But sometimes, like Al Pacino in The Godfather, every time I get back out, they draw me right back in, right? Every time you think you'll catch a break, you're thinking, look, let me get through the Supreme Court nomination hearings. Hey, Tom Chrisman, I miss you too, brother. Hope all is well. Super appreciate you stopping by. Thank you very much. All right, so here's the deal. You know, you get through the confirmation hearings, people coming up to me outside, people bumping into me in the store going, oh, we figured you'd be back at the studio, back at the ranch, watching everything that goes on with the Supreme Court nominations or the hearings. And one of the things I'll tell you, at least three people came up to me and said, oh, someone asked her, you're so smart. You must be taking notes. Why don't you show us your notepad? And the judge turned it around, and it was absolutely blank. So depending upon how you feel about her proclivities in life, seems like she's a pretty sharp knife. And so you'd think that's what we could be talking about. If we were going to talk about politics at all in the show tonight, right, just to clear our palate, right? Like if you're having sushi, Wayne, what's that green stuff called? The real spicy stuff. I love it so much when you have wasabi, right? It's like wasabi, but you want to clear your palate with a little bit of ginger afterwards, right? To clear your palate. Well, that's what this stuff is like. We want to clear our palates so we can get to the really good stuff. So you could think of our show as a nice sprig of fresh ginger, right? Get everything out of the way. And so it's not going to be the Supreme Court. But here's the thing, and I posted it just about 45 minutes ago. Guess who has the toughest gig in all of the 2020 presidential campaign? Wayne, I know you know the answer because you probably saw the post, but did you know the answer before we put up the post? Who has the toughest gig in this campaign?
I didn't know before I saw the post.
Oh, you didn't know before, right? Because who would ever guess that? The toughest gig in this campaign, hands down, forget about it, hands down, is the sign language interpreter for Vice President Biden, former Vice President Biden. And the only reason that I mention this is he happened to be in Ohio. And the only reason that I further mention it, right, because I don't even like to think about this stuff, is that would it kill us to have political people to choose from that aren't 75, 76, 77, 78 years old, however old he is. I don't know. But apparently he was giving some opening remarks today, and I won't hold you to all of them, right, because it's just a cavalcade of hits. But Joe Biden apparently, according to the reports that I'm getting, slurs his words, and he says, quote, because it's Ellen General Motors. Now, he's 77 years old, and I get that, right? You got to cut him some slack. I'm the first one to admit, hey, when you have some cognitive issues, people should cut you some slack. But I think what's starting to trouble me here is that it just happens over and over again. The thousands and hundreds of thousands of people killed. No, there weren't. Oh, the hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people killed with handguns. No, there weren't. Oh, well, there's this and there's that. And then today, when he says, well, I'll tell you what, and let me tell you this. I hate the word, right? I loathe the word, anything like that. I call them audio typos. And they're little placeholders. That's why I loathe them, right? If you're going to speak, I tell my little kids all the time, if you're going to speak, think about what you're going to say and then spit it out already. But don't be going, well, you see, or hear, or anything. So right away, I'm no longer a fan. Well, I tell you, my dad was a model bile. A model bile, I don't know what a model bile is, but Father Biden was a model bile man. I got through, again, my favorite word, school, and we got through being able to being able to do it after we lost the job up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Your dada moved down to Delaware because strike three, you're out like twice, because it's Ellen General Motors products. And so I've known, and my state used to have the largest percentage of auto workers of any state in the nation. I don't want to go on any more than that. So here's the scoop. Vote for whoever you want, but across all tickets, would it kill us? Is there really something wrong to having a politician that can speak the English language, that has a command of, okay, you're so low, Bri, that's a very elitist of you. It's not English. Okay, even if you're running and you're speaking Spanish, could you speak with a command of the language? Could you have a little bit of mental faculty, right, to be able to say exactly what it is that you mean? And the thing that scares me about it, when we talk all the time, can we have a president that isn't in him or her, isn't in their 70s? Does that make sense to anyone? Think about it. 70 years old. In this case, 77 years old. Can't we clean house? Can't we get some fresh blood? And the politicians, right, these maniacs, they're all over, well, we need experience. Who would run the Senate? Who would run Congress? Anybody could run it better than what they're doing now. Oh, but we got to have Nancy Pelosi there for 450 years. We got to have whatever party you want to believe in, right? Well, they've got to be there forever because we need that experience. No, we don't. That's not how it's intended. And it's just plain infuriating. All right, let's run to a quick break, Wayne. Celebrity voices impersonated. That's amazing. It's uncanny. It sounds just like me. got to tell you, Wayne, every time I hear that, I think to myself, wow, that's a celebrity impersonator. Boy, she knows her stuff. Let me tell you. Hello again to Miss Putnam. Nice to see you, Tom. Nice to see you as well. I'm trying to clear my palate, get all of it out of the way, because the election is just a couple of weeks away, right? I'm assuming, Wayne, right? Today's like 2-3 weeks away, max.
Yep.
Don't we deserve, Wayne, candidates that aren't 77 years old, candidates that mentally are all there? Can you imagine somebody with that many dumbs and does and ahs and oohs and uhs? You imagine talking to the Joint Chiefs of Staff? You imagine it's popular to say, well, what if it gets the call at 3 a.m.? I'd like the person to know where they are. I'd like them to know who they are. So I get it if people don't like Trump. And I get it if people don't. There's all kinds of reasons. And you say, well, I'm going to vote for Biden because a vote for Biden is a vote against Trump. We leaked it here first last evening. You heard Nancy Pelosi arguing with Wolf Blitzer earlier in the day. At least I'm told. I haven't heard the clip yet. Right? Show some respect. I still think turbocharging the 25th is sneaky Nancy's way of not using it against Donald Trump. Come on, he's a short timer, right? It's already intermission. He's headed to the aisle to get so that he can get out of the parking lot before everybody else leaves, right? He's already on his way out, if that's what you believe about the election. Why keep pushing this 25th? I think she plans on using it against Joe so that she can get Kamala Harris in as president. Wayne, how's this for a conspiracy theory? Oh, look at the time. Very well said. Very
I just
well
don't know what to
said,
say.
That's what I think's going on. And anyone wants to know, that's what I think is up in the air. That's what's happening right now. Nancy plans on using this turbocharged 25th to get sneaky Joe out of office, should he get in, and go from there. So that's it. Just wanted to share those with you. Get that off of my mind because it's grating. Every time I hear a slur, every time I hear something else, as he fumbles or bobbles, it just strains your imagination to go, would it kill us to have someone like JFK? Would it kill us to have someone that could articulate the language so that the rest of us wouldn't need an interpreter? And that's why I said earlier, can you imagine, Wayne, being the sign language person for Joe Biden? You talk about your fingers having to jumble around. You talk about having the whirling dervish of digits. How could you follow him? I don't know how you could do it.
I could never figure out how anybody could follow him right now.
That's all I'm saying. And forget about the fact that he's had years and years and years, and you know how I feel about public servants. You know how I feel about watching. I don't believe that at that level, these politicians are watching out for you. I believe you and I are watching out for you, but I don't believe they are. All right, so that's enough. At least I got my 2 cents in, and I do it again because coming to Ohio, it's like he's taunting me, right? Just when we talk about not doing this kind of stuff about it anymore, he just can't keep quiet. No one will answer if they want the court packed. Will he do it? Won't he do it? Kamala Harris says the Harris-Biden administration. Well, that's just not wishful thinking on her part. I think that's part of the collusion that I was talking about yesterday. So there you have it. That's why I say the toughest gig in all of the 2020 campaign, not a speechwriter. You could say, you could say, it's a speechwriter. Nope. It is the interpreter that has to be able to show on screen. And if you see these sign language people, don't they always look pissed off, Wayne? They always have a grimace. Is there something, and I know a little bit of sign language, not a lot. I know I'm not proficient in it. Well, I know a lot, but do you always have to grimace? Do you always have to growl? Do you always have to have, I don't understand it, right? I don't get it. I get that it's all part of the package, but that person, God love whoever that person is. And maybe Joe Biden's got one that travels with him that's always doing it. Maybe they're kind of like, just like with President Trump, the teleprompter operators kind of groove, kind of knows what's coming, knows where the pauses are, knows what's coming next kind of thing. Maybe Joe Biden has one of those. I don't know. All right, Wayne, what do you say? Let's get to my favorite first half-hour segment. By far, my favorite segment has got to be Mortal Up, but my favorite first half-hour segment is, take it away, Wayne.
Lowlifes making headlines, or as we like to call it around here, brains that make your blood boil. Here's your brittle brain atop a balsa wood spine for today.
All right, so our lowlifes making headlines. Normally, we save this little honor, if you will, for an individual person. Now, on Friday nights, we have what's called the Maleficent 7. And if you get a chance, head on over, drop us a line at mortalup.com. If you're listening at mortalup.com, Radio Bry, you know how this works, allnaturalbeing.com, you know. If you're listening over there, thank you so very much for joining us. We super appreciate it. But you can just look at the bottom of the page, hit the email button, and you can tell us who should be the Maleficent 7. Who should be on that list for Friday nights? And then we'll go ahead and throw a group of individuals, right? So lowlifes making headlines, normally one person. The Maleficent 7 is, all right, there's so many of them throughout the week that we're going to throw that down on a Friday night. It'll be the Maleficent 7. But tonight is the first time that we have kind of a category. It's not an individual. It's not a group of individuals, right? It's not like that. It's a category. It's a mindset. It's a cognitive delusion. And it's our low life making headlines for tonight. Cowards. There you go, Wayne. Thank you so much. I love the little cowardly lion sitting there in the corner. And that leads us to our new segment. Thanks again to Steve Scully. Super appreciate it now that he's out of a gig moderating the debate or the debacle for C-SPAN, whatever you want to call it. Thank you to Steve Scully because he's helped us create not only today's Low Lifes Making Headlines, cowards. Aren't they the worst? Here's the thing. If you're going to say or do something, just draw your line in the sand and stand by it. That's all we're suggesting. So we've come up with a new segment now called the Coward Chronicles. Now, the Coward Chronicles, thank you again, Wayne, very much. Yeah, all these people running absolutely scared. Oh, if this happens, I'm petrified. I'll be apoplectic. I'll be this or that. I made the mistake, and Wayne's working on the new sound now because we've switched it from strush to stush, S-T-U-S-H. We've switched it from stush to stush because we were told, hey, Brian, you know what? You're like a cross between Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh. So we're working on the audio package for it, but it's stush. So in an event, or at least in an attempt to live up to the moniker, I've started listening a little bit every day to Rush Limbaugh. I've started listening a little bit every day to Howard Stern. And the coward that I would like to call out tonight is a guy on Howard Stern. And I'm really not sure. Now, I'm not picking on everyone say, oh, if you want to pick a fight with Howard Stern. Fine, I'll pick a fight with Howard Stern because he employs this guy. But the guy's name, I think, is Ralph, if I remember correctly. Ralph. And all the guy, I think he's like his hairstylist, or if I remember Howard saying that this guy, this poser, this hanger-on, cuts his tags out of his clothing or whatever. But he's going on and on about how he's burning bridges. He could never have a friend that voted against him. He could never have a friend. He could never have a family member. He would even stop talking to coworkers if he found out how they voted and it was different than he voted. What kind of flaming coward do you have to be? What hair on fire, Chicken Little, sky is falling, boy crying wolf do you have to be so thin-skinned, such a brittle brain atop a balsa wood spine that you would disown friends and family because they would dare vote for someone other than the person that you had picked? And you know why you're so worked up? You're so worried? Because it makes you a coward. Let me ask you, what would it truly mean to a friendship? What would it truly mean if someone were to vote contrary to how you voted? Why would that be a cause to burn a bridge? Think about that for a moment. We're going to run to a quick break.
Portions of this broadcast have been pre-recorded.
Why? Because you can't get these people to hit a call time. They're the worst. Nah, I'm just kidding. We love our guests.
You can't. Thank you, sir. You can't get him to hit a call time, but that's okay. That's our job to hit the call times. So we were talking about cowards. And how is it that you can be so thin-skinned that a family member, and I guess it's like an epidemic, Wayne. Have you heard about this? People going, hey, if you vote against my guy, if you vote against my girl, I'm going to disown you. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You're not allowed to have me come over and sleep on your couch. I'll find some other basement to sleep in. Liked by Janice on Twitter. Janice, thank you so very much. Wayne, we have someone following up on Twitter. Thank you very much for that. And let me just thank Wayne again. He does such a great job of making sure we go out everywhere. We go out to YouTube. And yes, all the people following us from the Nat Geo special, all the people from my RVing days, where we used to say survival evolved. Did you? Which leads me to another thing I wanted to talk about this evening. You see all these articles now that saying that human beings are still evolving, and they use a particular artery running down the center of your forearm to show that human beings, it's still happening. People are being born. They're not born with wisdom teeth anymore. Huge numbers in the population, right? Not to be all Joe Biden and misquote the numbers, so you notice I didn't give the numbers, but a huge number of people in the population are born without wisdom teeth. Paul, let me say good evening to you along with Janice on Twitter. Thank you so very much. Tom and Miss Putnam, thank you for joining us. Paul, I hope you're doing great. So here's the thing. We're still evolving. So if you and I are still evolving, right? Our species is still evolving as a human being. I say, let's just evolve and mortal up. Let's make it, right? So that as we continue to grow, we grow away from being a coward. We grow away from being a Chicken Little. We grow away from a sense of self that's so precariously perched that if someone votes differently than you do, you're going to use it as an excuse to write them out of your life. Talk about the Coward Chronicles. Now, this isn't the only category, if you will, for these chronicles. There's another one, and I got to thank Wayne again because I think he's got the slide ready to go. Paul, we hope you are well as well. Thank you so very much again for joining us. But our jousting with journalists, right? Here's another one, jousting with journalists. And the reason that Wayne put journalists in his quotes is that I think some of these people like pretending they're journalists. Like, people pretending that they're cop, like Barney Fife playing quick draw in the mirror. I think they like pretending to be journalists, right? I think tons of them are. Just tons of journalists are good, caring folks, interested in the facts, like I was back in the days of law enforcement. You're interested in getting to the bottom line. You're interested to getting to the truth, right? I think there's journalists out there. I know there are. I'm friends, dear friends, with tons of investigators like this that are just going to scratch and peel and tunnel until they get to the truth. But then there's posers. They're the ones running around with their little sharpened pencils, their little earpieces, trying to do whatever they can over here on Spitter to get their little soundbite. Oh, if I say this, it will go viral. Oh, great. Good for you. Love to hear it. Let's just see, right? And then these are the same people that will post something only a little bit later when they catch heat to take it down, which is another one of my pet peeves, but we're not going to get into that this evening because I think that's pretty well known that who does that, right? You and I, we have the courage to say something. We Facebook it, we tweet it, we LinkedIn it, we put it out, Instagram, whatever. We're not going to take it down just because we get in hot water. We're not going to take it down because someone says, oh, they don't like it. Oh, they were triggered. Oh, they were offended. Oh, they were mortified. I've never been more, just reviled by your comment. Right? What happened to these people? Not journalists like that. But that's what our life is full of these days. Everyone has their spin. What happened to the good old days where you could tune in? I remember watching Walter Cronkite growing up. You could tune in and someone would tell you the truth. Not all these opinion pieces. Not all these pundits now that are paid to be on TV simply because their teeth was able to withstand enough whitening that they can get a 5-year contract. right? Not those. Those are the journalists that we're going to joust with. Those are the ones that we're going after because ultimately, I think they watered down your wherewithal. Why? As we know now, they treat us like gullible rubes. They're the ones buying into the deplorables. Where Joe Biden, and I don't hold this against Joe Biden the other day where he says, you don't deserve to know how I'll vote on court packing. Poor Joe doesn't even know how he thinks, what he's going to do, what he's going to say, right? So I don't hold anything that comes out of that boy's mouth. I just don't hold against him anymore. Sooner or later, you'd think his handlers are going, you know what? It's just unfair to put him through this. It's unfair to put him for the spotlight. If there's a group of people on the face of the earth that are just thanking their lucky stars that the second debate was canceled, it's the folks in the Biden camp. Right? And before you go, oh, Bri, this isn't a cult of personality. Thank you. You and I are going to be fast friends. It isn't a cult of personality. I'm talking about policies. I'm talking about platforms. I'm talking about your right to free speech. I'm talking about your right to run around in public, not be subject to lockdowns. Did you see, Wayne, where the World Health Organization now, not WHO, the band, World Health Organization says now, maybe those lockdowns are ultimately detrimental to human health. Did you see that? Are those posts all over the place today?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I heard that yesterday. And
oh, was it yesterday?
And my thoughts are basically just another flip-flop by the WHO.
By who? Now, I will tell you, people that are near and dear to me have said, well, we just waited to see how the data was. Great, you waited to see how the data was. How about the rest of us that told you that lockdowns weren't the way to go? Right?
Well,
how about the people back in March that were screaming and hollering going, lockdowns will not work. Lockdowns will hurt people. Drive down any boulevard, any street, any little roadway in any hamlet and see 4 or 5 businesses that are closed, gone out of business, probably never going to recover, families filing for bankruptcy, all of this, because all of the brainiacs in charge said lockdowns were the way to go. Well, Brian, we've had a chance to see the data now. What about those of us that told you 6 months ago, the hell with the data? Don't lock down people's livelihoods. How about those people?
Well, WHO's reasoning this time around for the flip-flop is the economic impact.
Yeah, it's the economic impact.
Not the health impact,
they know
but the
now there's no
economic
money
impact.
for people to buy Chinese crap.
Yep.
Henry says the truth. You can't handle the truth. Tom, was that Tom Cruise? I almost said Tom Hanks, Henry. You're absolutely right. Tom Cruise. I think he was interrogating Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. I'm with you. Thank you, Henry, very much for that. So that's all I'm saying. Where were all these people way back when we said lockdowns weren't going to work? It was going to hurt more people. If you're one of the people concerned about a comorbidity, stay in. For heaven's sakes, protect yourself. Lock down. Wear a mask. Wear a snorkel. You get yourself a lightsaber. Or you get yourself a 6-foot lacrosse stick so that you can make sure if you have to go out, you've got the 6-foot bubble clearly marked off. But where are the courses going to come now? I saw today. Did you see this, Wayne? I got a text from somebody that said there's over 300, or was it 3,000, maybe 30,000. Who am I, Joe Biden? I can't remember the numbers of doctors now that have signed off saying lockdowns are not the way to go.
Yep, I saw that too.
Well, you're damn right it's not the way to go. No one's making any money to buy all their baubles and their trinkets and their crap from China, where this whole thing started. All right, I'm going to need a spritzer. Need to splash some water on my face. We are going to run for this short break. Oh, good golly. Now would be a good time, Wayne, to thank our sponsors at Counterpunch Media. Look, however the future turns out, you're going to want a counterpunch. So Counterpunch Media and also Certifiable Brilliance. Thank you so very much for being our sponsors and allowing us to just, remember we used to have the 800 number, Wayne, 1-800-YOU-RANT, right? Where people could just call in and rant and say whatever they wanted. So let's go to the break. Then we'll give the new 800 number and we'll start kicking off the second half hour of Radio Bry. Wayne?
You're listening to The Brian Brawdy Show. Why? Because you know the truth when you hear it. He'll be right back.
Brian Brawdy Show, brought to you by our good friends at Counterpunch Media and Certifiable Brilliance. It's time to buckle up. All right, well, I guess I screwed that up mentioning the sponsors 60 seconds before I was going to mention them again. So my bad, but thank you all so very much. Counterpunch Media, of course, for everything that you do and for being a sponsor, and Certifiable Brilliance as well. We'll be talking about, or, let me do it a little bit later in the week, but the sponsors of the Brian Brawdy Show, we couldn't have done it without them. Wayne, I want to say a quick hello to Henry. Henry's in the feed tonight. Also, Janice over on Twitter. And Wayne, anyone that you want to give a shout out to over on YouTube, please feel free. But Henry, Wayne saved me last night because I went on and on about how excited I was for your anniversary, Henry and Rita's anniversary. And of course, I botched it by saying, this is their 8-year anniversary living in Belize. And then Wayne was like clearing his throat. And he goes, "Right, that's Ecuador. And I said, well, I didn't say this was Jeopardy, damn it. Right? It's somewhere in the South. At least I didn't say Tampa. Right? Somewhere moving south. So congratulations again, Henry and Rita, two of the greatest people I know. So thank you so very much for hanging out with us this evening, the day after your anniversary. I hope you had an absolute blast. All right, Candace, peace to you as well. Thank you for joining us here at Radio Bry. All right, so we finally got that first half hour under our belt. It's like pulling up at a toll booth and go, oh, of course I don't have my toll tag. Of course I don't have my iPass. I have to sit in the change lane, and you're in the change lane like a good 20, 25 minutes before you realize it's not even a person making change. It's one of those vending machines making change. And you're like, boy, they certainly want to browbeat people into getting one of these iPasses. And boy, I get it. I should. I absolutely am going to get one next time. Kind of like, Wayne, you were calling me throughout the day. And I don't know if we discussed this at length last evening, because now I'm looking pretty dumb, right? As you know, I say all the time, you can't spell Brian without the I in idiot. I'm looking pretty dumb. I didn't want to put chemicals all over the yard, right? I don't want to have fish swimming in the local river with 4 eyes, right? I don't want to make the Asian carp any crazier than they already are. So I don't want all these toxic chemicals making them able to jump tall buildings in a single bound, right? Tiger mussels, the kudzu vines, whatever the invasive species is. I didn't want to give them a shot of whatever this grub poison was, right? Whatever the stuff is you're supposed to put on your grass, so that if it washes into the waterways, now you got like these bionic critters. Well, Wayne, let me tell you, that was a mistake. Absolute mistake. I've spent the last 3 or 4 days just peeling, just like a carpet, like bad indoor-outdoor carpet after a flood on your back patio, bad. Peeling the grass, and every square foot, 6, 7, 8 of the fattest, juiciest, and I don't mean good by juicy, just the fattest little gorging grubs that you could imagine just decimated my yard. People walking by making fun of me, right? Going, I guess you wish you had used those chemicals now, huh? So I got to tell you, Wayne, I'm a big fan. I will be using, you won't be able to spell Brian without the, what would be a good one? You won't be able to spell Brian without the T in toxic, but we'll work on it. You know what I mean? Henry, I miss you as much. Thank you so very much for joining us once again. So now, Wayne, I'm a huge chemical guy. Just we're going to napalm the front yard in the spring because I don't have it in me. I'm an old man. I can't be crawling around. It takes me 20 minutes in the shower, like a quarter bar of soap to get the mud out of my knees. I can't be doing this. It's craziness.
I told you so.
I know. Did you? My memory isn't always that great, as you well know. Did you tell me that I should spray for grubs?
Yes, I did.
All right. Well, once again, look, we can't keep track, right? We don't have a long enough show for you to let everyone know when you're right and I'm wrong. But boy, you were certainly right. And man, I was certainly wrong because these grubs are everywhere. But can I tell you, you know what the bright side is, Wayne?
What's that?
I don't have to go to the gym. I'm doing planks in the front yard. I'm doing one-arm push-ups, saying, okay, can I do a push-up with my left while I grab a tuft of grass with my right? Or, you go to do a push-up, you jump up in the air, see how many grubs you can tick away
before your hands hit the ground again and catch yourself before your chest hits the ground. So I'm turning it into a regular workout, right? It's been great. It's been nice. It's been relatively sunny, little bit of a breeze, but I'm getting a workout. I probably had 35 wheelbarrow loads today, back and forth to the compost bin, back and forth, back and forth. So I'm getting low back work. I'm getting some chest work. It's just going great. So silver cloud in the lining when you don't listen to Wayne and you don't lay down the chemicals and you get an army of these little insect vegetarians, right? Because all they eat apparently are the roots of your grass. So it looks like the front yard of my house growing up. Janice, if you're listening over on Twitter, it's like the front yard growing up with just like a dirt patch. And then you peel back what's left of your grass, and these grubs are the size of a pool cue. Maybe not as long, but they're definitely that girthy. Just like a one big insect set of lips looking for a nipple, right? They're just voracious, Wayne. They're everywhere. And so that's what I've been doing. Don't know how I got off on that tangent, but this segment brought to you by, you sure they're not moles? No, I am certain, Candace. You know what I'll do, Candace? I'll take a picture. Wayne, I'll get a picture tomorrow if I can still find one. After I called in the airstrike. I'll see if I can get a picture, so I'll bring it in, but they're not moles. You actually peel the grass back, Candace, and you see these little things, right? They're the size of your pinky. They're huge. They got white bodies with little brown heads and just like little teeth, and they eat up everything in sight. Kind of like public servant politicians, if you will. Eat up everything in sight. I loved watching Adam Shifty Shift the other night on Bill Maher, talking about, it's not our fault, not the progressive platform that's causing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses to close and move out of California. Not my fault. You know what I mean, Wayne? All right.
Yep.
All right, Wayne, we got a little something to do, and then we will be right back.
The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent.
Which would have been very helpful if I had remembered to ask you to open the phone lines. Did we open the phone lines? Did we do that already?
Nope. Well, we can do it now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, would you mind, Wayne?
The phone lines are open. Now's your chance to mortal up and give Brian a shout, because your opinion deserves to be heard. Dial toll-free 1-833-MORTAL-1. That's 833-MORTAL-1.
That's right. In the hieroglyphics of it, if you're like me, you'd rather just give me the numbers. I just want the math. Just give me the science. 833-667-8251. 833-667-8251. We believe it's toll-free. It's toll-free if you call. Now, the standard texting rates may apply, but if they ding you for a nickel or dime or a quarter, whatever it is, right? If they ding you because you text us here on the show, let me know. We'll find some way of Zelling you or Venmoing you. We'll find some way of getting you that nickel or that dime back if you get a text and you get us on a bill. All right. And Wayne, wouldn't it be great to have this next segment brought to you by like a chemical company? This next segment brought to you by Scott's. If you got grubs, we got the answer, right? If you got grubs, we got the get them out of there, and we sell it in a bottle. Visit us at whatever.com. See, that would be a great idea as to a sponsor. I could tell my battling grub story. Well, I've the last 2 nights, Wayne, I've dreamt about it.
I told you so.
Yeah. I get up with at 5 o'clock in the morning with a headlamp on, trying to sneak up on them. I'm like Bill Murray in Caddyshack going after the golfers, right? It's unbelievable, these things, and they just keep eating the fat little bastards.
Don't feel bad. Most of us have been there, done that.
Yeah, you know what? That's what everyone walking by laughing at me. I had people pull up in the car going, got yourself. And I love my FedEx driver. He's a great guy. Calls me BB all the time. Well, today he called me Stush because I told him about what you had done. So now he's calling me Stush. But he's like, oh, man, those grubs, they're bad. I had those 2 years ago.
He goes, it took us forever to get rid of them. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And here's the other thing, Wayne. Everybody else in the neighborhood knew to get whatever the chem company is to come out and spray their yard or however they do it. I don't know how they do it. Whatever they do, everyone else knew, right? They knew to do it. But we were like, nah, we got a dog. We don't want to poison little kids that might run through our grass. So we're not going to do it. So these grubs, it was like Club Med for grubs. They're like, hey, this address, they didn't get any toxic stuff. So let's head on over and just rape and pillage at their place. And they called all their friends. Next thing you know, there's a little army of grubs. Everyone talks about army of ants. There's a little army of grubs marching in line to come on over to our buffet and eat out the entire front yard. Unbelievable. All right, don't forget, give us a call. Oh, listen, if you have any other, thank you, Wayne, so much. Phone lines are now open. You can call or text us live, 833-667-8251. Guy right next to me has vibrating things down in his yard. What's going on? Does the guy living next to you? Guy next to me has vibrating things. Now, is that a defense, Candace? Like, he puts these vibrating things in and that's what keeps the grubs at bay? Or is there something else crawling around in the yard that vibrates and that's what he's got? So,
well, whatever it is, it keeps them coming back.
Do what?
Whatever it is, it keeps them coming back.
Well, there you go. Right? I'm going to leave that alone. Right? But so I'm going early next year. Go ugly early. Bring in the napalm. Bring in whatever it is. I'm laying down some chemical warfare in the front yard because it's just ridiculous. I'm an old guy. But I'm loving it. It's a great workout. All right. Don't forget 833-MORTAL-1. Mortal in the numeral 1. As you know, we believe you are the number one mortal. That's why we chose it. 833-667-8251. 833-667-8251. You can also text us right here in the studio. If you're thinking, I don't want to have my voice live on air, I'll just give them a text and we'll go from there. All right, Wayne, so what else is going on in the world? What else have you heard? Anything about the confirmation hearings? I'm very excited about Mortal Up this evening, but we've got a few minutes before we get to your other eye, right? Anything else going on in the world you want to let us know about? How's your little muffin of a governor now that they captured everyone that was going to kidnap her or whatever else was alleged to have happened? How's she doing?
She's
still
doing
screaming defund the police? I'm sorry?
She's doing her exaggerations.
Oh, she's doing her exaggerations. Okay. Well, look, I got to tell you, from dealing with bad guys, if you have a plot and you can't keep it quiet enough to keep the FBI from finding out about it, you deserve to be arrested, right? You just deserve. I've often thought about that. You know, these people that want to pull off crimes and they don't have the forethought. Don't talk about it. I don't want to give anyone ideas, right? But don't text about it. Don't send emails. Don't talk about it on the phones. Don't come up with hand signals. Don't do anything. I'm surprised they didn't charge him with RICO. You know, Wayne, RICO was always a great way for any of my friends listening that were in law enforcement. You know, RICO was just kind of a racketeering thing wherever two or more people conspired to commit a crime. But RICO would be a way of going after these guys. Bart says, pave the lawn, paint it green. Bart, you have no clue. I was thinking about that. And, you know, they got some of this green felty stuff that you glue down and you paint it every so often over at Home Depot. I saw some the other day. So believe me, I'm thinking about that, which is why if you're listening to the show and you live in Arizona, do you know why I admire you? Do you know why? Because you have cactus in your front yard. That's true. You have rattlesnakes and scorpions and really cool lizards and probably some roadrunners, right? Yeah, some rattlesnakes. I get all that. But you have cactus, you have sand, you have desert. You don't give a crap if your yard is green. And who picked the color green anyways? Candace says, yes, it kills stuff. Okay, so this is like an invisible fence for insects, Candace, your guy next door has this little vibrator, right? Can you hear it? Can you feel it? Does it trigger like a seismograph? But think about it, Wayne, that's the invisible fence for insects. It's like a blue light, but it's underground, right? And it vibrates And all these bugs are like, man, what is going on over there? That place is hopping. I don't want to go anywhere near there. It's always loud and it's always vibrating. Candace says they leave. They don't die. Well, I don't care what these guys do. I'm killing them. They want to go on to something else in life, that's fine. But these grubs, no. Now it's like I said, Bill Murray and Caddyshack. It's me against them. Hands down. So, anyone else have any ideas about painting your yard? I love the idea. And I really did see that over at Home Despot, where you can put down this AstroTurf kind of stuff. And if everyone would just drive by and mind their own business at 15, 20, 25 miles an hour, Wayne, you could paint some AstroTurf green. And I don't think people would necessarily know it if they're from the Housing Association, the Housing Organization Association, whatever it's called, right? They probably couldn't tell if I just spray painted it all green. Do you reckon?
Well, I don't. Do they walk around with a basketball?
I don't know. They're sneaky. They'll come around with clipboards. You got to watch.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of green. Well, that's what I should do. You know, sometimes you got to wash your siding because in the shade, this mold, whatever it is, whatever kind of green it is, I just got to figure out how to get it to grow on the front yard, not on the side of the building. That's brilliant, Wayne. So when they walk around with their little pencils and their clipboards and their cameras and their little ticket books, I'm telling you, it's where I came up with the line. Big government doesn't live in distant capitals. It lives in little minds. These people are everywhere.
AstroTurf.
In any event, AstroTurf. Wouldn't that be great? I wonder if there's I wonder if they figured no one would be so stupid as to put AstroTurf in their front yard. Maybe they didn't think to put it in the contract.
Yeah.
Then if I tore out the grass and put in AstroTurf, what could they say to me? Maybe the contract is such they didn't spell out AstroTurf. So maybe that's my out. Bart, what do you think? Candace, what do you think? That could be my out. Painting it green. That way, even on the weekends, I don't have to cut it. You still got to rake leaves. But you know what? If it's AstroTurf, I would just get a leaf blower.
A hose.
A hose. There you go. A hose. That's what I'm going to look into. Thank you, Bart. Always coming up with great ideas. Super appreciate it. All right, we're getting ready to run the mortal up here in just a minute, so give me a holler or leave us a text if you would like. 833-MORTAL and the numeral 1, 833-667-8251. Let us know what you're thinking. Oh, yesterday was a holiday, too. A lot of people, if you work in government, if you work, I guess in a lot of other fields, you had the day off. So let us know, how did that go for Columbus Day? I know Columbus taking a lot of heat lately, right? But I bet you Columbus was the kind of guy, you wouldn't see him deleting his tweets. You wouldn't see Columbus pulling a Scully going, oh, I was hacked. Wouldn't see Columbus acting like Joy Reid. Oh, someone broke into my account. I would never say those things. It was a hacker trying to make me look bad. Yeah, right. Like that hacker would need a lot of help. They probably wouldn't like Dawn. I use Dawn for a lot of things. Oh, so Candace, is that like Dawn? Not like the sun coming up. You must mean like Dawn, like soap detergent. Yeah, but then I wonder if the kids slide in the front yard, would they come up with a mouthful of bubbles? But maybe it's not as toxic as some of these other things. They swear it isn't toxic, but how do you know, Wayne? You know what I mean? How do you know with the stuff they spray in your, oh, don't worry, it's not toxic. How do we know?
Hey, stop asking so many questions. I'm just still getting over the kids coming up with bubbles.
With bubbles, right? Well, what you use on your lawn? Liquid Joy, which reminds me, and anyone that's known me for a lot of years, Bart will remember this. Janice would recognize this. You know, when I was little growing up, I don't know if we had Dawn. The soap, right? Not the Sunrise. Well, I don't know if we had the liquid detergent soap, but my mom was absolutely 100% against cussing. She didn't like any vulgarity, none whatsoever. And when we were little, if she ever caught you cussing, Wayne, guess what she would do?
Good old soap.
Yes. Yes. See, you and her on the same wavelength, thinking just like Bart and I with the paint it green, pave the lawn AstroTurf. She would use a bar of soap. Well, here's something. As we got older and our jaws and our lips got stronger, she couldn't pry open our lips to stick the bar of soap in. And I remember listening to Robert Goulet growing up. And there was a particular, right? That's all she had in 8-tracks. I guess it was 8-tracks, I think, way back then. Maybe it was at records. Could have been 8-tracks, records, somewhere in that. But she used to listen to Robert Goulet. And he had a particular song, Wayne, where he would say, and you'd march into hell for a heavenly cause. Did you know Bobby Goulet? You remember him, Robert? Okay. So he had this song that would sing, you can march into hell for a heavenly cause. And every time he got ready to say hell, I would scream hell at the top of my lungs. And when my mom would come looking for me, I'd go, hey, I'm sorry, it's your song. I'm just singing it. Don't know what to tell you. Don't think I deserve the soap. And as I got older, Wayne, she would tackle me, hold me down on the kitchen floor, and she would take her fingers and go to force my lips open. But I was strong enough at the time where I could keep my lips closed. So no soap coming in until she figured out what? You know what she figured out?
Squeeze bottle.
Squirt ivory. Yes, a squeeze bottle. So Candace is saying, Dawn, my mom used liquid ivy because no matter how tough you are, no matter how strong you are, no matter how tightly you can clench your jaw, you can't clench your lips. She would peel my lips back just enough to get a squirt bottle of ivory in and give it a big squeeze. And then the next time he would sing March into Hell for a heavenly cause, I'd have bubbles coming out of my mouth. So when Candace said Dawn, now that'd probably be, Art remembers, has said is a liquid. That's right, liquid soap. Long back before there was any of this hand sanitizer nonsense. All right, Wayne, I've talked long enough about Dawn and bubbles and liquid ivory. Let's go ahead and run with the next one. I'm often asked about the meaning of Mortal Up. What's the elevator pitch, if you will, right? If I could write the meaning down on a cocktail napkin, what would it be? And many are surprised to learn that Mortal Up has nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with memory, because it's about recognizing those things that resonate within you, those things that just out of chance strike a chord with you. And we can't always explain it, but something happens in the moment to catch your eye, to catch your ear, to tweak your gut. It's a feeling that compels you to slow down and go, what? What just happened? Wait a minute. And for me, and I hope for you, nothing is more of that cognitive cattle prod than the poem Invictus by William Ernest Henley, where he says, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me always unafraid. Because it matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And I hope that works to spark a memory in you, as it does in me, because it is the ultimate definition of Mortal Up. And when you think about that definition, the labyrinth of life, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, the pivots, the swerves, always a cul-de-sac, never a dead end unless you and I surrender. No matter what fate throws at us, we do anything but cower in the corner. You draw your sword, you prepare, you draw your own line in the sand. And that's all Mortal Up is. I got into a conversation today with someone on a call that talked about evil incarnate, the epitome of evil. And it turned out to be a rather long call because I basically said I didn't believe in evil incarnate. I always view evil
is on the far end of the scale, that end where you refuse to mortal up. And I've always viewed evil as something where the individual perpetrating that evil just doesn't know how to mortal up. So in an attempt to falsely inflate themselves, they turn to some evil deed thinking wrongly, right? Being intellectually dishonest with themselves. Thinking that if they do A, it will make them feel better. And even though they're wrong, they refuse to mortal up. They refuse to draw their sword from a stone. They refuse to square their shoulders with fate, regardless of what it throws at them. And as you've heard me say many times, the Tao follows its own path. A coward, which is why it's so infuriating. A coward cowers in the corner. A coward runs away from his or her own fate. But when you mortal up, when you decide that this particular moment in all of time, I am the captain of that moment. I am the puppeteer of this moment. You are the one ultimately in charge. And no matter what happens, no matter what befalls you, by remembering who you ultimately are, outside of the static, outside of the amnesia. To be honest, I think the only thing when people say, oh, I'm very apathetic about life, it's because the amnesia has you with both hands around your throat. How else could you be apathetic? How else could you look at life as an excuse to be evil? Unless through that apathy, unless through that amnesia, forgetting who you ultimately are. And that's why when we talked earlier, the other eye, it's the eye of your gut. What's going on in the world today? What does your gut tell you? What does your instinct tell you? When you dovetail your heart and your head, what does it tell you? I had a little bit of fun earlier, making fun of the M's and ahs and does and all this. Thank you, Henry, very much. Nicely stated. Been my belief for quite some time. But he did a great job, didn't he? Excellent poem. Invictus. But when you decide in that particular moment that no matter what the outcome of this next election is going to be, it will be a reason for you to rise to the occasion. Whether your guy wins or loses, whether your team makes it to the Oval Office, stays in the Oval Office, however it works out, I couldn't give a crap. Because ultimately, whoever wins, it's still going to be on you. It's still going to be on me. It's still going to be on us to rise to whatever challenge these public servants are going to put us through, right? We have to square our shoulders. We have to dovetail our spine and our head with whatever hurdles they're going to throw our way. Never being, even though bloodied, always unbowed, never fearful, never, ever surrendering our ability to be who we ultimately are. All right, we're going to get out of here. Once again, thank you so very much for joining us for episode 520 of the Brian Brawdy Show. We'll be back tomorrow night. I want to thank Counterpunch Media. I want to thank Certifiable Brilliance. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, everyone that joined us here on Facebook, on Twitter as well, over on YouTube. And as I said earlier, if you're catching the podcast of this, it's truly an honor to be able to hang out with you. Look, there's all kinds of things you could be listening to, driving around, making deliveries, doing whatever you're doing throughout the day. It truly is an honor to be riding shotgun with you. So take us. We're thrilled because you can reach us at mortalup.com. You don't need to get a signal here to any of these other social media places. You can get a signal to mortalup.com. If you can get to the internet, you can get to mortalup.com. You can get our podcast. You can get the archives of all of our 520 some odd episodes. You can get it all. Oh, and thank you also to the good folks at IPMNation.com. And my final thank you, as always, every evening. Wayne, thank you for everything. You make me look one hell of a lot better. Right? Oh, that's assuming I do look okay, I think. You make me look a lot better than I deserve. Wayne, thank you so very much. We are out. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Brawdy Show. Until next time, get out there and mortal up.